Howdy do y'all, this is John, and today we are talking about From Russia with Love, a movie that came out in 1963 starring Sean Connery as James Bond. And then From Russia with Love, it deals with a spy, James Bond, who is once again called to action when a decoding machine from Russia goes into the hands of a defector, and his job is to escort her to England. Although a bit of a double cross, she is actually not defecting. She thinks she is doing this for Mother Russia, but as another twist, the person who hired her is only faking being a member of Mother Russia. She is actually working for Spectre. They're playing Britain and Russia off together in hopes of killing James Bond and knocking out a few other stones that are causing them problems. Okay, so getting into it. First and foremost, what I liked about the movie. Sean Connery as James Bond. The dude's great as the character. In my opinion, this movie has arguably one of his best performances as the character. Sean Connery, plays James Bond with complete gravitas. He is the strong man who has a very likable personality, but also won't back down from a fight. If you go after James Bond, he will tear you to pieces, basically. The movie also introduces us to the first femme fatale that James Bond has to deal with. Femme fatales, they're essentially, female agents that more or less go to bed with men who work with other, intelligence agencies in hopes of either getting information, assassinations, whatever. And this is in my Dr. No review, one of the situations where I mentioned, his James Bond's love of women kind of comes back and bites him in the butt a little bit. The character Romanova, she is arguably one of the most iconic Bond girls, but she is also the first femme fatale. She's someone who's, yes, charmed by Bond, but at the same time, she's using him. Like I said, thinks she's working for Mother Russia. She's unwittingly actually working for Spectre. But her, being with him, it's not about her actually liking him, at least for a while. It's about the mission. Anyway, great character and very good performance from the actress. I hope that was her real voice and not a dubbed voice, though. And how's the story? The story itself is good, but I do think that Spectre's plan is a little too complicated. As you could tell, I had issues explaining in the opening of my video. And that's because, again, it's a very complicated plan to explain. And when something's that complicated, I always just naturally assume that it won't work. But as far as the story itself goes, I do think that the story itself is actually good. It's one of those situations that starts off sounding simple, but as things go on, it gets more and more difficult for Bond to overcome the issues that he's dealing with. And how are how does this movie visually look? I do think that the cinematography is nice, and also, for the most part, you could tell this was definitely more expensive than Dr. No. The production design, a lot of the sets that they use actually look far better than they do in Dr. No. However, I will still say this, the rear projection shots are still just as noticeable. But still, you could tell there was just as much effort put into this as Dr. No, but they had more money to work with. And while there's not a lot of action or combat in the movie, just like in Dr. No, when it does happen, the throwdowns are genuinely great. Especially this throwdown between James Bond and this assassin known as Grant. While they don't start off fighting immediately, they have a talk at first. Even that talk is pretty intense. And when they do finally throw down and start, swinging fists, that itself is also pretty intense because Grant, he's definitely strong enough to take on Bond. In terms of problems with the movie, as I stated before, the whole villain plan thing is a little too complicated, and I just don't think it would work. James Bond, he's someone who always suspects traps, and he does. So if they were to specifically target Bond, they would need a plan they would not expect at all, which is easier said than done. So yeah, a little too complicated. It would never work. But also, when it comes to the villains of the movie, aside from Grant, they're not exactly that well developed. You have this guy who is, some chess player, not a great villain, barely even in the movie. But the most prominent of this female Russian general who now works for Spectre, they make a big deal about her, and she isn't even well developed. So guys, at the end of the day, From Russia with Love, it is a very good follow-up to Dr. No. It's not a perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it does continue to entertain and thrill. It's one of the best Bond movies of the Sean Connery era, undeniably. And if you have not checked out From Russia with Love, I do recommend it. I'm going to give From Russia with Love an 8. Same rating as Dr. No, but while I'd put Dr. No here, I'd put From Russia with Love, like right there. So that is part 2 of my Bond marathon. Next week, Goldfinger, my favorite of the Connery era movies. And I hope you guys, continue to enjoy these videos as, we're waiting for 007 First Light to come out. Well, that's all the time I have for today. Please look forward to more videos real soon. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Please also subscribe if you're new to the channel. Please don't forget, I also have a secondary channel where I do gaming content. Please go check it out. And as per usual, please remember the Podetsky way.